Good morning students, welcome back to the Sheba online class. Today that is the 17th class of the 12th standard for the P block elements part 2. We go for that the group 16. In this group 16 of in our periodical table, that is oxygen family, that is oxygen group. It's also called the chalcogens. What is that? Chalcogens. The group of 16 is oxygen. It's very important for without the oxygen we cannot survive. You know very well about for that all the living things we need the oxygen only. Okay, and then apart from that oxygen we have the elements of the group 16, that is sulfur and selenium and tellurium, polonium, that kind of elements also in this order of that the 16th group. Okay, in this type of elements it's to be we can get occurs the ores of oxides and sulfide states. Okay, the first element of the oxygen, it's the most abundant elements. That most of the abundant elements we go for the properties as well as the uses also. Okay, and then your textbook having that the physical properties, that is the main for that boiling point and melting point, for that the atomic numbers, that is and all we have to notice that the page number 73 for the tabulations also. It's very useful to see that for the electronic configurations and the density boiling, so also is there. You have to verify that the textbook and move on to this the preparation of oxygen. How to be produce that oxygen? Its main thing for hydrogen peroxides, that is one kind of reversible reaction, so it's not a decomposed reactions. Why? Because that is that reversible reactions. For the hydrogen peroxides we can get the water molecules along with oxygens. In this oxygen in our atmosphere around 21 to 23% is there. For in water we have to get that 83% it will be in the oxygen in our surrounding. Okay, that is the most important informations. And move on to this thermal decompositions. What will happen about that the decompose of the thermal? For that the mercury oxides we can get the mercury along with oxygen, and barium oxide we can get barium oxide dioxide, barium oxide with the oxygen. That is the thermal decomposition of oxygens. Okay, and then this is properties of that oxygen. And before that I am going to explain about that the kind of oxygen we can get that dioxygen and then ozone, that is the 3 molecules of oxygen. Okay, so that is the difference in this two. It's for kind of oxygen family, that is more variations of the characters too. Okay, and move on to this what is that characters of that the two different type of oxygen family, that is oxygen, that is dioxygen. It's also the reversible reactions we can get that the atom of oxygen, and then atom of oxygen again react with oxygen gaseous state, that is dioxygen. We can get the ozone molecules, that is the 3 atoms of the oxygen, that is ozone. Okay, and then the structure of ozone is to be surrounded for that single bond along with that the double bonds too. In the 2 isomerisms of that ozone, it's bonded to this octet rule. You have to notice that the 2 dots it's make a single bond. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So you have to notice for the all the oxygen is bonded with the 8 electrons. It's for that electrons it's only one lone pair for that positive charge, and this is the negative charge. And this the another kind of isomerism of the ozone structures. Okay, this is the structure of the ozone and the ozone's chemical properties. What is that the chemical properties of the ozone? In this ozone the main important thing for that it's very protective one for that from that UV rays from that sun. So இது ஜெனரலா உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சிருக்க கூடியது ஓசோன் லேயர் இஸ் ப்ரொடக்ட் ஃப்ரம் தட் யூவி ரேஸ் டு திஸ் இன் திஸ் எர்த். சரியா? ஸோ யூவி ரேஸை வந்துட்டு நம்மளுக்கு அழகான ஒரு இதில் ஃபில்டர் பண்ணி நம்மளுக்கு அனுப்புது அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. இன் திஸ் ஓசோன் லேயரில் ஹோல் இருந்தால் கூட நமக்கு டைரெக்டாக யூவி ரேஸ் வந்து எர்த் மேலே உங்களுக்கு படும்போது நிறையா டிசாஸ்டர்ஸ் நடக்கிறதுக்கான சான்சஸ் இருக்குது அப்படின்னு சொல்லி நீங்கள் சயின்டிஃபிக் சின்ன கிளாஸில் படிச்சிருப்பீங்களா? தட் இஸ் தட் த ஓசோன்ஸ் ஆஃப் தட் தி மெயின் திங். And this is chemical properties. What is that chemical properties? That's in ozone react with potassium iodide along with the water molecules. We can get potassium hydroxide, oxygen and iodine. And then ozone, it's one of the powerful oxidizing agents too. And move on to this uses of ozone and uses of oxygens. What is that uses for the ozone? Is commonly used for oxidation organic compounds. Its acidic solution of ozone exceeds of oxidizing power of the fluorine and atomic oxygen. In this rate of decomposition of ozone drops sharply in alkaline solutions. That is the main thing. For the rate of decomposition of the ozone drops the sharply alkaline solutions. And then the uses of the oxygen is the most essential, the component for the surviving for the living organisms, and used for welding, for oxyacetylene welding. That is the important thing. And liquid oxygen also used for fuel in rockets and etc. For that, the more thing for that liquid oxygens also for playing that in our surrounding, for that very useful one. And then move on to this allotrophic of the sulphur. What is that sulphur? It's one of the group of 16, and then the sulphur, it's a crystalline one. For the crystallines as well that amorphous too. So உங்களுக்கு sulphur அப்படிங்கிறது crystalline states-லையும் amorphous, the different states of the sulphurs we can get. For that, the kind of sulphur, that is rhombic sulphur, that is also called, what is that, alpha sulphur, and monoclinic and plastics. In this monoclinic we can get also called beta, and that is plastic sulphurs, it's also called, that is gamma sulphurs. Okay, the alpha, beta, gamma, the likewise we can get the sulphurs, it's occurs from this crystalline and amorphous. So that is the main thing. If it is in this alpha sulphurs, it's to be in the temperature increased up to the 96 degrees Celsius, we can get it convert into this monoclinic. Okay, I will explain again the rhombus, that is alpha sulphur, we can implement to this temperature of 96 degree, we can convert to this monoclinic sulphur, that is beta sulphur. If you have to reduce the temperature up to the in 96 degrees of, you have to less than, again we can get that the come back to the rhombic sulphur, that is alpha sulphur. So 96 degree நீங்க heat பண்றீங்க அப்படினா beta sulphur, 96 degrees நீங்க decrease பண்றீங்க அப்படினா we can get that again alpha sulphur நமக்கு கிடைக்கும். That is the main thing for that, the properties. And then move on to this monoclinic. In this sulphur it's contained sulphur 8. I am going to mention about that sulphur 8 molecules. It's also bonded with the sulphurs in between, the sulphur to sulphur. Totally how many it's there? Yes, 8. In these 8 molecules, addition of the small amount of the sulphur is 6 atoms, that is S6 molecules. It exists as long needle like a prism and also called prismatic sulphur. It's also called prismatic sulphur. Okay, this is that main features of that we have to learn about that sulphurs. And move on to this sulphur dioxides. Sulphur dioxide, the chemical formula is yes, SO2, that is the sulphur dioxides. We go for that preparations and properties. Okay, for that the sulphur dioxide, that is SO2, we can get from that sulphur react with oxygen, that is we can get that SO2, and 2 molecules of sulphur react with oxygen, we can get the 2 molecules of sulphur trioxides. Okay, and these and all for that the properties. And that the another is properties is gas is found in the volcanic. In this type of SO2, that is we can get only for that volcanic eruptions. Okay, and then SO2 released from that power plants, how to be it's mingled with the atmospheric, we can get the power of plants that using coal and the oil and the copper melting plants. So these and all for that we can get that sulphur dioxide in our atmosphere. Okay, and then for the uses of that, for SO2, that is main thing for that uses, you have to know for that the sulphur dioxide using the bleaching hair, silk, wool, etc. For that it can be used for disinfecting crops and plants. Disinfecting, that is பூச்சிக்கொல்லி மருந்துன்னு சொல்வாங்களே, that is the kind of uses for that sulphur dioxides. And then sulphur dioxide, the structures, it's bonded with the oxygen, even the double bond and the single bond. For the octet rule, it's to be the different type of isomerisms with that positive charge with the negative charge. You have to notice that the page number 7 in your textbook, you can verify that the structures in between the two types of isomerism of sulfur dioxides. And then here the so many properties is there for the reducing property and the reactions with oxygen and sulfur dioxide, the bleaching actions as well for your books. I am going to read out for that few things of that. For the reducing property, it in sulfur dioxide, it react with water molecule along with the chlorine, we can get that H2SO4, that is sulfuric acids, and we can get that along what is that HCl, hydrochloric acids. And then bleaching actions of the sulfur, that is sulfur dioxide react with the water molecules, again we can get the sulfuric and hydrogen molecules. That is not a molecules, it is a nascent hydrogen, so it is not mentioned for the molecules, the atom of hydrogens. Okay. And move on to this next concept is sulfuric acids. Sulfuric acids, you know very well about that, using the laboratory for the H2SO4. In this hydrogen sulfate, we can call also for hydrogen sulfate as well, we can call that sulfuric acids. In this sulfuric acids, it is very useful for that in our life. It's sulfuric acids react with so many metals. It's apart from few things, it's react with so many metals. It's one of that the good oxidizing agents also. Okay, and then the manufacture of the sulfuric acids, it's to be going to that the few steps is there. For sulfur, first primary steps is sulfur react with oxygen in get for the sulfur dioxides, and then ferrous sulfide react with the oxygen, the 11 molecules of oxygen, that is dioxygen in gaseous state, we have to get that ferrous sulfate and sulfur dioxides too. And we implement the catalyst using of catalyst, that is V2O4 vanadium pentoxides, it will be changed into sulfur trioxides and sulfuric acids, and we can get the oleum, that is H2S2O7, and then hydrated for the oleum. Finally we can get the sulfuric acids. In the most manufacturing in this steps is using for that prepare for that sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4. In this H2SO4, so many things is there for reactant with the metallic and alkali metals, for the so many things, reductions of the with the salt. You have to verify that books for the carbon sulfuric acids, we can get the sulfur dioxides and water molecules. So in this sulfuric acids, the main using for that the manufacturing of fertilizers, ammonium sulfate and the sulfur phosphate, other chemicals also, and used for drying agents. It is to be used in drying agents, also used for preparation of pigments and explosives. For that sulfuric acids, it is most important using that your experiments too for practicals. Yes. So in this sulfuric acids, the reactions, it will be asked in your examinations for that, what will get react with metals, what will get react with oxygen. So this kind of questions will be in your text, in your questions. So you just read out, and the written practice also you have to follow that. Okay, and today concept is there. So I move on to this next concept of the next class for that new families. Okay, in this periodical table for that, in this P block elements part 2. Okay, so obviously you have to complete your homeworks and send out for that as per the time in evening 5 o'clock. Okay students, thank you.